In the late 90s and early 2000s, a new movie subculture grew up around websites like AintItCool.com. It was a forum for cinema addicts, a place to interact and discuss their favourite topic. But sometimes it went much further as well. Forum members would sneak into previews and test screenings, posting reviews of films that wouldn't be released for months. Others would sneak onto movie sets, capturing grainy images of actors in costume or expensively built backdrops. Their favourite thing, of course, was Hollywood hearsay. Which actor was sleeping with which director, how much people earned, which celebrity had secrets to hide. One of these posts in 2003 was talked about a secret gathering of Hollywood's elite directors. They would meet once a month to review work in progress or screen rare prints from their personal collections. A particular favourite at these gatherings, it was said, was a film called Glitterati. It was a cinema verite style film created from footage shot in 2001 by its director, Roger Avary. It was full of all the lurid trappings of Hollywood, uncensored sex, drug-fueled binges, with a cast of actors, models and dignitaries behaving badly when they thought that no one was looking. The film was so scandalous, they said, that it had been shelved after its creation for fear of the repercussions it might have if screened to the general public. And even now, more than 20 years since it was made, the film remains out of reach, an aspect of folklore from the last great era of movies. Today, let's look at the truth behind the rumours, what Glitterati is, and the different reasons why it is considered a lost film. It's impossible to talk about Roger Avary and not mention his contemporary Quentin Tarantino. Hollywood loves a rags to riches story, the video store clerk who became an iconic director. And Roger Avary's career could have mirrored Tarantino's for a time. He shared an Academy Award with Tarantino in 1995 for his work on Pulp Fiction. But where Tarantino moved on to bigger, grander cinema, Roger Avary seemed to disappear into a black hole of setbacks and misfortune. He was hired to write a script called Mexicali, only for the production company to go bankrupt the day he completed his first draft. He wrote an adaptation of BEOWULF with writer Neil Gaiman, only for it to spend more than a decade lost in development hell. And with his friend Don Coscarelli, he tried to remake Phantasm, only for the company financing the project to be sold off during pre-production. Finally, as the 90s came to an end, Avary's luck seemed to change. A speculative script he wrote was picked up by producer Greg Shapiro. It was an adaptation of The Rules of Attraction, a novel written in the late 80s by Bret Easton Ellis. Ellis had become one of the key figures of a postmodern cultural movement in the 90s, and the success of American Psycho meant his writing was primed for cinema audiences searching for something new amongst the saturation of blockbusters and action movies. Shapiro was able to set up a deal at Lionsgate Studios for Avary to direct his own script, along with the full backing of the author. In doing so, Avary would have the opportunity not only to make a film of one of his favourite books, but to develop the cinematic world of Easton Ellis and his stable of recurring characters. If things went well, it would be the moment Avary had been waiting for almost a decade. To tell the story of Glitterati, you first have to tell the story of The Rules of Attraction, as one gave birth to the other. And it's also true to say that both films were very nearly not made at all. By March of 2001, doubts about the potential success of Avary's adaptation had crept in at Lionsgate. The initial budget for the film, $10 million, was reduced to a less risky sounding $4 million. Casting choices and filming locations were debated and changed constantly. Eventually, after months of further uncertainty, principal photography began in Los Angeles in August of 2001. The timing was inauspicious. On September the 11th, 2001, cast and crew were working on a scene called The End of the World Party when they heard of the terrorist attacks in New York. It lent a gravitas to a film already saturated with themes of self-destruction and innocence lost. Around the middle of October 2001, most of what Avary could film with his threadbare budget was complete. But there was something else he realised. Amongst all the things removed in the budget cuts was a sequence shot on location in Europe. And now he realised this was critical to the movie. One of the main characters, Victor, wouldn't make sense without it. Since Lionsgate would spend no further money on the production, Avary came up with a plan. He would use his own money to pay for these scenes. He would buy a digital camera to shoot the scenes he wanted. He would pay for the cost of travel for himself, producer Greg Shapiro and the actor playing Victor, Kip Pardue, and he would push the trio of unlikely travel companions to the limit of their endurance and capabilities over the following 2 weeks. The European sequence, or Victor's European tour, was a grueling series of trips around Europe in late October of 2001. It was based loosely on a trip Roger Avery had taken in 1987, but with a Hollywood twist. Pardew would remain in character as Victor the whole time. Avery would film everything, while Shapiro's task was to hand out release forms to everyone they encountered. They left for London on the 20th of October, and filming began as soon as they landed. Avery captured a world still coming to terms with catastrophic terrorism, but also somehow indifferent to it. The strange trio floated through a storm of interludes and adventures that mixed fantasy with reality, with Pardew the centre of attention. Victor is interviewed by the Guardian newspaper in a hotel in London. Victor tries to seduce a Dutch TV star in Amsterdam. Victor DJs with Paul Oakenfold in Dublin. Victor drives a Ferrari owned by a Saudi king. Victor Gate crashes a Ford model party in Paris. Victor drops acid at La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. The three bounce from city to city all across Europe, from England and Ireland through France, the Netherlands, Spain, Switzerland and Italy, before making it back to London in time for a flight home on the 3rd of November. In a 2-week period, the three had visited 12 cities while Avery amassed some 70 hours of footage, an uncensored travelogue of interactions, challenges and hedonism at its most undiluted. There was a mountain of stories, characters and events, much more than was needed for a short sequence in the Rules of Attraction. And so Avery decided he would take all this footage and create a second film from it all. He would call it a tone poem, a companion piece to the main film he was making. He would call it Glitterati. Roger Avery returned home from Europe and set about editing the Rules of Attraction for an October 2002 release. Altogether, about 4 minutes of the European footage made it into the final film. Avery, however, decided there was a whole other narrative to be explored in all the hours of footage he had shot. As early as 2003, he was talking about something called Glitterati to the English press, while promoting the European release of the Rules of Attraction. He was confident Glitterati would sit well alongside the main film, as well as providing a thematic bridge to another Ellis adaptation he wanted to make, the 1998 book Glamorama. But in order for this to happen, he needed the Rules of Attraction to be a hit, and this would become a huge issue, because in a post-9/11 America at least, the Rules of Attraction felt very different to audiences with a lot of new concerns on their mind. Box office receipts may have been enough to cover the cost of making the film, but most reviews were scathing and negative. Unsympathetic, self-destructive college kids were now not what people wanted to see. The world of Brayston Ellis was now much less inviting. Because of this, the plan for an adaptation of Glamorama was dropped sometime in 2004, and a critical reason for releasing Glitterati went with it. Avery's tone poem to hedonism and excess would remain something of a curiosity. As a piece of cinema, it was insightful and interesting, but it had no future without a significant level of faith and investment from a film company. Glitterati would fade from view and become just another piece of Hollywood gossip. Over the years since, it has developed a reputation akin to the banned 1972 Rolling Stones documentary. Every now and again, interest in the film would peak, such as in 2011 when plans were once again made to adapt Glamorama into a film. However, as of 2024, Glitterati remains unreleased and unseen except for the 4 minutes of footage in the Rules of Attraction and several rare screenings of the film at festivals or private events. Glitterati is a product of its time, a fascinating Hollywood indulgence from the early 2000s that has an enigmatic status in lost media forums and movie magazines. It's not technically lost, just tantalizingly out of reach, with Roger Avery seemingly the gatekeeper of whether we might one day get to see it or not. Watching the Rules of Attraction at least gives a flavour of what to expect, but there will always be a certain level of gossip and speculation until Glitterati makes it into the public domain. Interestingly, in November 2024, while I was making this documentary, Roger Avery confirmed in an interview that he is considering a public screening of the film in 2025. I'll make sure to keep you updated if I find out anything else about this exciting possibility. If you made it this far, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of these documentaries. The feedback I received from the last one was amazing, a real inspiration to create more. If you'd like to support the channel and see a little more in-depth research about all the lost films we cover, you can head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/enigmavariants. Over there I share a detailed summary of the different parts of Glitterati and how a public screening would fit in with other projects Roger Avary is working on currently. Until next time, thank you for watching. This is Unfinished, Unfilmed, Unseen.